Welcome to the Meta One Coin Report, exploring the world of private digital currency through the eyes of human rights and empowerment of humanity. Here's your host, Leanne Carroll.
The Meta One Coin Report podcast is about current events, things that are happening in the world, also news and up-to-date information regarding decentralized finance and cryptocurrencies. Meta One Coin is a coin for humanity. We are involved in humanitarian projects and solutions that create an economy of abundance, an organic levity for humans, a forward up trajectory. It's a profound movement on a grand and global scale. The members of Meta One are difference makers and part of the Meta One family. Also, part of modalities of remedy, raising consciousness, like clean water, healthy food, healthy thoughts, acting in goodwill, caring for the self, and self-responsibility. We're part of connecting the dots, clearing the mind to make clear decisions. A big part of that abundance is good health. And it's said that health is wealth. Today, we have somebody on the show. His name is Richard Grassie. And for 35 years plus, he's been in the water business. He has a thriving full-service water treatment company in the Midwest. He's here to tell us about the qualities of water that you may or may not be aware of. This will be a very enlightening conversation, and I'm very happy to bring you Richard Grassie. Hello, Richard. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Leanne. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled for this opportunity to be discussing water in its many, many aspects. You know, we've been conditioned through time to take water for granted. We and water is the most, in my mind, the most unique substance on the planet. It is the only liquid that has the only substance on the planet that has 4 different forms. It's also the universal solvent. So water takes a piece of pretty much anything and everything it comes in contact with. And yet the irony of that is 99% of what finds its way into water is there quietly, meaning it doesn't, only 1% has taste. So 99% is there silently. We happen to live in a country that has in excess of 100,000, over 100,000 man-made chemicals, with 1,000 new ones every year. So when we think that we have this great water, it's interesting that the Corps of Engineers does a study on the infrastructure of the United States every 5 years, and water consistently gets a D-. So the water that comes into our homes is classified as utility grade. They can't make the water great, and the water quality leaving the treatment plant isn't necessarily the same water quality that gets to the home because of whether it's old plumbing, old pipes, old water mains, or old infrastructure that carries it into a home, and then it's also at the effect of the home. Pre-1976, all copper pipes was soldered with the solder was 50% lead. So there is this misunderstanding of people that we have this great water, and the sole reason is because we don't just drink it and get sick today. If we go to Mexico, we're all concerned about getting sick. Well, it's not the quality of the water, it's the bug that's in the water that they have an immunity to that we don't. So anyway, so for 35 plus years, I've been obsessed with water purity, utilizing technologies that remove the environmental impact that water's had on itself. Things like pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, detergents, synthetic organic chemical compounds, chlorine, chloramines. Pharmaceuticals are being found all over the United States now. And the newest big concern is microplastics from all the personal care products. And then on top of that, cities add chlorine or chloramines as a disinfectant, of which either one of those interact with man-made chemicals. They create a whole family of chemicals called trihalmethanes, which are not good for us. Or cities add fluoride. Well, the other side of fluoride is calcium fluoride is what's added to toothpaste. It's not what's added to water supply. 80% of the fluoride that's called fluoride that's added to water supply in this country is really a waste product from the aluminum fertilizer industry called fluorosilicylic acid. So it's difficult to remove. I'm obsessed with removal of it. There's two aspects of water that we can treat. The easy chemicals are the ones that are suspended in the water in the form of a gas. Those are the ones that we breathe and absorb when we're showering and bathing. So that we do an awful lot of installation of technology to remove that, since the hotter the water is, the more these chemicals are released into the steam and vapor. We're taking them directly into our lungs, and we're absorbing it through the skin, since our entire body is an absorption site when we shower or bathe. So we call that whole house dechem filtration. Then the difficult things to remove from water are called totally dissolved solids. Those were solid at one point that are now dissolved in the water. That's where heavy metals, lead, nitrates, salt-based substances, pharmaceuticals, microplastics, fluoride, that's where those reside. And those we remove from the drinking, cooking, what would be called life support water. So I'm jumping around a little bit. I just threw out a whole bunch of information about our quality of water. Water has become such a big deal in the 35 years. Plus, when I first came into the water business, people, the pendulum was on the other end, meaning most people thought the water was fine and safe. And now, almost 40 years later, most people realize that the water isn't great. So it's really the pendulum has swung from one extreme to the other. And there's very seldom that does a person tell me, well, no, I think our water's good. Most people want to address it. So water's sneaky. But the other side of it is people say, well, I have really good water. I have one of those filters in my fridge. So that purifies water, doesn't it? And no, it does not. It's a simple taste and odor filter. Or someone will say, well, I bought one of those things from the store that I pour water through this little filter. And I say, well, everything's a help. Everything's, we always make the best decisions we can in the moment, right? We don't ever want to make ourselves wrong for decisions that we make. But there's many things that are Band-Aids. When you take taste out of water, people think that the water's better. But it's so important to realize that there's only 1% that gets into water that causes taste.
Part of cleaning up the water is cleaning up the environment, and which is a completely different subject. But at least you provide something that can help us or help an individual take care of their own self, their own house, their own water systems.
Right. So people will say, well, isn't the city good? Why doesn't the city supply me with a better grade of water? Well, it's an upside down equation, because such a small percentage of water coming into home is used for life support purposes, drinking, cooking, that it's an upside down equation. They can't supply a high grade of water. It has to be a lower grade called utility grade. And the goal is so that you don't get sick today. Again, nobody's wrong. It is what it is, right? We live in this country. But if the city, like the city of Minneapolis, let's say, which is where I live, or, they spent millions and millions of dollars on a water treatment plant to be able to take Mississippi River water, which is the source of water for the inner city of Minneapolis. And it's still one of our biggest areas of improvement. Even though they've done all this, then they put it through old infrastructure. And they have to add chemicals. It's just, we're better off as homeowners or humans to deal with the water quality ourselves, so that we can deal with it as an end result. It's way more cost effective than to try to get a city involved, where you're going to pay it 100 times over in taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So there's different sources of water, which confuse people sometimes. Sometimes people will say, well, my water seems fine, doesn't have a taste, doesn't stain orange in the sink. Well, that's because they're not on a private well that has iron or black manganese or has hydrogen sulfide gas, which gives the water a rotten egg smell. So you have river water or groundwater, could come from a reservoir. You have city well water, which is common, or you have private wells. and they all have their different variations of regulation. So the Safe Water Drinking Act was passed in 1974, where cities now had to test for 22 chemicals. That was mandated by the government. All cities had to fall into that requirement. And as an example of those first 22, lead was one of the first 22. And the allowable limit for lead was lead, let's say. This was this. So if the lead was in this range, it wasn't higher than that, it was considered safe. If it was higher than that amount, it was considered unsafe. So 40 years later, that list of 22 has grown to about 100, and the allowable limit for lead is this, which means that wasn't safe, the level, right? They've reduced it substantially. And I think that's an important thing for people to realize, because again, nobody's wrong, but this whole terminology called, when people get their report from their city saying, well, you're within the maximum MCL, maximum contaminant level range of what we feel is acceptable. Well, the acceptable limits are all guesswork. I mean, again, nobody's wrong, but this isn't something that's protecting us like we look all around us on the things that are kind of attacking us as humans. Water being one of them. So we've been conditioned through time to think of, oh, no big deal, as long as it tastes okay, it's good. Just not the case. Now you take water quality, you clean it up, so you remove the environmental impact, and then people say, well, what about all those really important minerals in water? Don't we need those really good minerals in water? My question always is, well, so what good minerals are in your water? Well, I don't know. Aren't there good minerals in my water? Well, it's a little bit of a misperception, because the mainly minerals in water, especially from well water, which is what most people's source are. People aren't living up in the mountains getting this beautiful, pristine spring water, right? They're living in cities. And so when minerals from well water, all they're doing is digging a tube down into a slowly moving river called an aquifer, and they're tapping and bringing that water up. Well, those minerals in that aquifer are from dissolved rock. You try to absorb minerals from dissolved rock. The structure is so strong, the bond is so strong, I believe it's the major cause of kidney stones, because you get these inorganic minerals in water, and the body has to filter it because it can't utilize it in the form that it's in. So it gets stored in the kidneys. So I will say to people, well, let's just pretend for argument's sake that there's 25 things in your water, 5 of them are beneficial, and 20 aren't. Well, there isn't any technology that can remove the 20 and let the 5 through. So we have to start from scratch. Remove everything to the extreme. Now, if you want to, we can remineralize the water with usable minerals, not ones that are negative to us and virtually impossible to change in form to be utilized, if that makes sense. So the deal is we have to drink more water. We're water humans, we're water-based creatures in a water-based universe, and we're in the 60 to 70% range water. So really, shouldn't water be kind of up at our priority list of how important it is? I mean, if anything, 70% of whatever, isn't that the most important thing that we would be addressing? So it's just about education. It's about allowing people to be more informed about how really critical water is. Then you take the next step and say, but what about this? Isn't water something? Isn't there some special stuff? Didn't some Asian fella do some research? And Dr. Emoto did all kinds of research on the aspects of water, and they validated. And there's this new science of water called the new science of water that's taking water understanding to a whole different level. That water should look like a snowflake. Oh, interesting that a snowflake is 6-sided. So when we get water back into that shape through structuring it, now the cell accepts it. Now we get true absorption, because typically the water that people are drinking is so damaged, it goes right through their body. Some of it gets absorbed, but it doesn't because it's so damaged structurally, the cell doesn't accept it readily. I better let you say something, because I can just talk forever here.
Well, you brought up some really good points. And for those people that do have water systems and that would like to remineralize their water for their health, how do you suggest doing that?
Well, the easiest, least expensive way would be to take sea salt mix it into purified water, and keep shaking it till as much of the salt or minerals in the salt are absorbed into the water, and then separate it so that you just have liquid. Put it in an eyedropper or some type of bottle, and now in that form, add it to your water, because you get more benefit than if you just dump some sea salt into the water and drink it.
And you're
That
not
would be
really
one way.
that is a good way. And you're not really talking about the sea salt that you get at the grocery store. You're talking about natural sea salt, right? Like
Yes. Yes. Himalayan sea salt would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Salt
Okay.
is a whole another topic.
Right.
And salt that we're putting salt shakers is not beneficial to us. It's negative. So
I agree.
right, we all know that.
Yeah. And the other thing you mentioned was Dr. Emoto's work. And Dr. Emoto, I
Yes.
can put the information in the show notes about Dr. Emoto. It's very powerful. He proved that water has memory and water has
Yes.
structure. And you can
Yes.
program water with your thoughts and your feelings. Can you talk about that a little bit?
He's done on all kinds of study. He developed this ability to flash freeze water and show it in its crystalline form. And he would show it with, if there was really heavy metal music, the structure of the water when you would see it would be very disturbing because it was pretty ugly. But if you did the same thing, same water, crystal, and you put love or a really nice Baroque classical music or something, a love melody, then the structure is incredibly beautiful.
That's
also,
right.
they did a study of there's a really good documentary called Water: The Great Mystery. Most of the scientists, and these are very highly credited, very respected people that are doing research on water. Most of the scientists were not in America; they were from other countries. But they sat a group of people around a table, and they put a flask of water in the center of the table, and they had people put negative thoughts out, and then they measured the frequency of the water, and it dropped. They replaced that flask, and they had people put loving thoughts, just thoughts through our mind, projected onto this flask of water, and the energy and the frequency rose. And they had testing ability to do that. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to validate it. That's one. The crystalline structure where the flash freeze is another one. You can just see the difference. Now, there are sensitive people, more so women than men, that can feel the difference when water's structured, right?
So it kind of goes along with the idea of blessing the water before you drink it to change the vibration in it so that it can be healthier for your body.
Yes. Yes. So some people really do believe too that they could take and if we vibrate high enough in our consciousness, I do believe that we could take not great water and just put our intention on it and increase its vibration, because we are these incredible beings. We really are unique in so many ways. And we're living in a time, not to get off track, but we're living in a time where people are really waking up to how incredibly powerful we are. And we really are able to create our own reality. But again, a slightly different topic.
Well, it goes along with the Meta One idea. We are creating a new reality. We're creating a new way of transacting and conveying in commerce, a new freedom, and we're creating a new abundance. This water conversation that we're having is very much tied in with that, because of the abundant health is a part of wealth. And
correct.
Yeah. The other thing that you touched on was the structuring of water. That is a very big subject. And you do explain water structure very well. And it is the structure of the molecule that allows our body to absorb it and utilize it. And
correct.
Let's say someone doesn't have the ability to purchase a big home unit, but they can purchase something that is small that they can use with their kitchen sinks, or with their potable water. Is that what you called it? Your utility water. How would you take that water and structure it so that molecular structure is absorbable and utilization high?
Utilized more highly absorbable and utilized.
Yeah.
So there's different parts of the picture here, right? So if a person takes tap water and wants to do something simple, I do have I have two companies. I have one company, my main company is called richardswater.com. So if they went to a website, it would be richardswater.com. Water purification, water treatment, et cetera, et cetera. Then I have a company called Richard's Living Water, and that's where we're getting into the structuring of water. That's where Emoto is discussed, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where products to help the water be more absorbable reside. And the simplest thing that I know of, we've taken these, there's a technology that's been brought from way back when. So we go way back into Christ's time, where we've been taught about the three wise men gave the Christ child frankincense and myrrh. Well, I didn't know what frankincense and myrrh were till way later in life, and they're essential oils. Well, essential oils were more valuable in that time than gold. Anyways, there was technology developed back there with glass called violet glass, and frankincense and myrrh were put in these containers because it protected its life force or its energy or its vitality. So there's a company in the Scandinavian countries has resurrected this technology called violet glass. And we have violet glass bottles that we have purchased that we etch into the glass. First of all, the oldest symbol on the planet called the flower of life, which is a structuring design in itself. And then we've etched words, because words are powerful. One being, let's say, love and gratitude has been cut into the glass. And if people buy that bottle or a bottle like that, they're inexpensive, and they put their water in it. And that's where they drink all their water from. I haven't had anyone come back and say, I don't notice any difference. It might take a little while for the body to adjust. But not only do we not just drink water and have it come out of us pretty rapidly, it gets into the body because now it's getting absorbed. Pretty powerful, very inexpensive way to start. Then we have fancier glassware that it uses the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio, and it helps create a resonance within the glass so the water remembers that it has this structure. Then when we drink that water, it really can have a profound effect on us, because we're giving back water, taking it back to the state that it was intended for us when this planet became about. Now I'm going to jump back to this documentary called Water, the Great Mystery, because there's one scientist from Russia that I like to quote, because he was told that the most pristine water on planet Earth was in a very remote area of Venezuela. And any parents out there that have children that have watched that movie, that little animation where the house got lifted up in New York and it float with balloons all the way to someplace in South America. Remember that one?
I think it was
That's
called
where
Up.
this is. Yeah, that's where this area is. So he went there scientifically took samples of this water, and then he had it scientifically analyzed, and they found that water from this remote area of Venezuela was 40,000 times more living, more active than tap water. So all we need to realize is we take that kind of energy frequency into our body, since we are energetic beings on an energetic planet, right? How could it not be a benefit to us?
Right.
So
Life
my
force
goal with
feeding
the
life
second
force.
company.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the second company was to do everything we can to give back that essence, that vitality, that life force back to water. And also when water is structured and it has its original intended shape, then it can carry nutrients efficiently in and out of the cell. So we are these incredible beings, and we're supposed to be water drinkers. We're not supposed to be soda pop drinkers or juice drinkers. It's really water that we want. But our water will our bodies crave it once we attune to it to some degree, right? So people say, I can't drink water. Well, you just got to get started, and the better water is, the more you're going to want it. My thing is, if I put a liter of water next to my bed at night, and I am in the routine of drinking that before I get up to go do my day, I consume water that day. Otherwise, I can get lost in my day, right? And the day's over. And then, did I drink enough water today? The other thing is when water structure, you don't have to drink. So the American Dietetic Association states that we're supposed to drink half of our body weight in ounces every day. So a 200-pound person, that's 100 ounces. That's a lot of water every day. What I find is when the water is structured, because it's absorbed so efficiently, you don't have to drink as much and be hydrated. So, because people think, if I'm drinking all that water, all I'm going to do is be in the bathroom every day. Well, that's all day. Well, that's partially true, but again, as you drink water that has structure, it does get and penetrate to the cell more efficiently, and it gets to the extremes in our body that typically aren't getting hydrated when we don't consume enough water. Right? The body is very magical. If we're not drinking enough water, it's going to the critical areas.
Right. Absorption.
Therefore, our
and
feet get
utilization.
dry, our hands get dry, our feet get as we get older, our feet can get cracked and hard and everything, right? Because we're just not getting water to the extremes, hydration to the extremes. Water is the carrier of everything. Water is this amazing substance. It is the most unique substance on the planet, bar anything. Not a single function in our body takes place without water. Not a single function takes place without water in our bodies.
I agree. And I've heard that water has the memory of all of the Earth's existence within it.
Yes. Oh, yes. Water carrying the history of the world in it is sometimes, how do you put that into this little drop, right? But that's an understanding that takes a while to understand and a fair amount of research. But it is this really special, unique substance, bar anything. And so it's respecting it. I mean, we can just, if we jump back to water, people can do whatever whatever water they're having. If they put good intention to it, just like if they put intention to themselves in a good way, like I'm going to have a great day today, it's no different than saying this water is fantastic. It's the same energy that does both. It's our intention. Einstein and Thomas Edison both made the same statement that our brains are the most powerful transmitter and receiver on the planet. And so if we really look at that, what I'm transmitting is what comes back. If I want to have a good life or a good day or a good moment or good interactions, I want to make it really clear that my thoughts that I put out and the words that I use have a good intention behind them. I could call myself a wordsmith at this point because I'm very, very focused on the words that I use, because what those words are is what is going to create the life that I'm leading. So I'm not looking at glass half empty ever. Glass is always half full or flowing over, right, with abundance. And I'm carrying that into water. Water's been a vehicle. So I literally, in my business, really have used the universe to say, I really want to have interesting conversations and I want to have nice people. And I've got to a point where I do that, and the next day their phone rings, and I have interactions with people that I would choose to have interactions with. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah. So water's been a really powerful vehicle for me. It's been part of my awakening. It's so much has happened in this life. I'm so grateful to be here. So grateful to be alive at this amazing time. I mean, goodness gracious, this is paradise.
It is, and it's amazing time, and it's amazing that we're all awakening at the same time. Humanity is rising up.
Yes, there's never been more people awake on the planet in the history of the planet. I mean, I don't think the planet's ever been this populated, and that's a whole other out of the box statement. But there's a mass awakening. It's not just America. America is this kind of the stronghold. We have to take movement from this country to move forward, in my mind. But the whole planet is waking up.
It's a beautiful thing.
And I'm hoping that many people are becoming disgusted in what they're seeing out there, because it's the disgusting that motivates people to say, okay, that's enough. Time to move forward. And for all this intended division in this country to be brought together, because it's just all sold to us. There's no division here. If there is, it's very little.
I agree. I don't think people want to be separated from each other. I don't think they
No.
want to see the differences that are being programmed into us.
Correct.
And
That's how
I
you
don't
weaken
think
society.
it is. It is exactly, because it's easier to rule over lambs than lions.
Yep.
But here we are reinventing the lion.
It's true. That's true. The true. And the bite that Meta One will take, a positive bite to feed many, is massive. I'm so excited. So excited to be part of the project. I'm so excited to know where we're going and what we're really preparing to offer.
What is your ultimate vision of the Meta One project?
It's going to allow people, divine spirits having a human experience, to be able to step out of this corporate structure that we've been indoctrinated into for a long, long time. And I'm talking hundreds of years. It's just been the worst over the last 100 years, right? To step out and be free of the encumbrances of all the things that we think that we've needed to have to survive, which is just a way to ultimately control us as slaves. I mean, when the Matrix came out 20 or 30 years ago, whenever that was a super powerful movie.
I still watch it.
But it was about, oh wow, yeah, me too. I've watched all three of them just within the last couple months again, because there's things to be absorbed from them that are super powerful and positive. So Meta One's not this little thing that's going to happen in America. It'll be worldwide. It will have, we already have people from all over the world as coin holders. And it only has potential right now because it isn't there yet, but we sure have the pieces in place to free humans from one of the most excruciating control mechanisms over us, which is money and freedom of who we are. And when you can interact or transact freely without any encumbrances of a legal, what do I want to say, from the system that's already here, and we can build prosperity. Humans in general, I believe, are good. I mean, I don't go very dark in thinking ever, because I believe that humans are good. And it's when people don't have choices, that have been conditioned into no choice, that they act in a way that is potentially harmful to others. There's no shortage on this planet. There's prosperity. There's more than enough prosperity for 3 times the size of the population of the planet. That's all bogus. And there shouldn't be poverty anywhere. And that's where we're going to head. We're heading that way. Might take a little while. Yeah.
I like that. I like that remedy. There shouldn't be poverty anywhere. I agree.
Right. It's intended poverty. It's not poverty by accident or poverty because there is lack. There's a system in place to keep that the way that it is. And that's the system that's breaking down. And that's the system that Meta One is part of challenging to create change.
That's true. That's true. I appreciate you sharing your perspective today. And really, when we talk about poverty in different parts of the world, not only are they let's just take parts of Africa, for instance, bringing it back to the water. They don't have means. A lot of the areas don't have water either. They don't have clean water. So
Right. And again, there's technology to take ocean water and make it into potable drinking life support water. We're not short of anything. One thing we're not short of on the planet is water. back to our bodies are about 70% water. So is the planet. Now, people will say, but we only have so much potable water. There's only whatever the percentage of water is for cooking, and we're running out. We're going to run out of. Well, the truth is, there's no more water. There's the same amount of water on the planet today than at the beginning of time. It's a closed system.
It is.
And maybe water's being wasted, but it's sure not being wasted by humans in the way that we're conditioned to think. It's wasted in many other ways. So yes, some people want to be more responsible and they want to have a special shower filter that doesn't let so much water through, and they want to have these devices, and all that's fine. But that's more propaganda in my mind to hide a bigger picture, because there's plenty. There's no shortage here. This is an abundant planet.
It really is. And it's almost like the corporations destroy the water and then they run it through their filters and sell it back to us.
Water. Yeah, there's a whole movement across the planet to own all the water rights. That's another form of control. But again, I believe all that's going to fall away. It's all going to fall away because humans are waking up to what's been done for centuries.
I agree very much. And I appreciate your perspective. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
No, I just hope that this time that we spent has some logic that people can follow and listen to it, that it didn't jump around too much, because there's a lot here. I mean, I could talk for a long time. Just water is a massive deal. It's very, very important. People can go to richardswater.com or richardslivingwater.com and get more information. And I just want everyone to listen to this to have a positive attitude, because it makes all the difference in the world, because that's a choice.
It is. Oh my goodness. I was just reading about a Russian guy who was in prison. He was imprisoned wrongly, and he was contemplating the life of the spirit in his cell and wrote some books. And you can be connected to your spirit and be connected with your light in any condition. It's really not, we don't really live in a conditional world. We live in a world of choice, which
correct.
Yeah.
And that's choice in each and every moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you chose to come here today and speak with us. And healthy food, healthy water, healthy thoughts, good deeds, it's all part of living abundantly. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that you are inspired to listen to it and share with others. Please comment with any questions, concerns. Maybe go to richardswater.com. And also, if you're interested in Meta One, if you're interested in looking at the movement of abundance and freedom in the conveying of commerce, please go to metaone.io. And until next time, live freely and live abundantly.